Hello, Max Wright here, and welcome to This Week in Tyranny for November 9th, 2015. So this video was released a few days ago. It's Hillary Clinton attending a town hall meeting in South Carolina. And for basically about an hour and a quarter, so for 75 minutes, either the host or a member of the audience asked Hillary a question, and just the exact same pattern was just repeated over and over and over again. The question came and it presented some problem in society. Hillary responded. Generally, usually first off, she agreed with the person, restated the problem even more eloquently and emphatically than the person who asked the question. And that's obviously just to get the person on board. And I don't begrudge this. All politicians do this. I do it in other videos. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Just acknowledging that, this concept of getting people on board, getting people nodding with you, getting people agreeing with you, making them feel heard and understood. That's just good communication skills. But this really lulls people into a sense of security when answering these questions. And then she went on to say basically that, she was going to fix it. As president, she was going to stop it. She was going to fix it. We can do more if we all pull together, blah, blah, blah. Actually, I should make a montage of it. It would end up being pretty funny, I think. But it was just over 75 minutes and probably 30 odd questions for 30 different issues. Every single response that Hillary said, basically she was advocating bigger government, more government. Government could do no wrong. Not one time did she recognize that freedom or free individuals or the free market system could contribute in any way to solve any problem at all. Not once. Not once did she say that. And I'll show some of Hillary's comments in a second. And I just wanted to show you by contrast, check out Carly Fiorina's answer to this question, and she had many others similar to it in the last GOP debate.
Mrs. Fiorina, you were the CEO of a large corporation that offers a 401k to its employees. But more than half of American workers have no access to an employer-sponsored retirement plan. That includes the workers at small businesses and the growing ranks of Uber drivers and other part-timers in the freelance economy. Should the federal government play a larger role in helping to set up retirement plans for these workers?
No. The federal government should not play a larger role. Look, every time the federal government gets engaged in something, it gets worse. And then the government steps in to try and solve the problem when we get a little further down to that progressive vision that Hillary Clinton is talking about. Companies should, if they want to attract the best workers, provide a good set of benefits. But honestly, if you're a small business owner today, you are being crushed. We have 400,000 small businesses forming every year in this country. How great is that? They are employing themselves, they are potentially employing others. The bad news is we have 470,000 going out of business every year. And why? They cite Obamacare.
So
they are refusing
to. You wouldn't agree with the starter 401k for businesses or anything like that?
I think it's a wonderful thing that businesses start a 401k. The point I'm making is this. The federal government should not be in a lot of things.
And I think on that, especially on these economic issues, it's just so frustrating to see, in my perception, Hillary take the easy road and say, I'll fix it, no problem. There's no specificity in her answer. She doesn't tell you exactly how she's going to do it. She doesn't tell you exactly how much money she's going to take from you in order to invest in this program and hire the bureaucrats to implement it. She doesn't tell you, okay, after that investment, after I take that much money from you, here's how much it's actually going to generate at the other end. It's just, there's no specificity. It's very hard to argue. It's just, if you like me, vote for me. Trust me, I'll take care of it. Compared to, it's just an easy answer that panders to people who don't really understand economics and can't really weigh up those the pros and cons of the answer that she's advocating, and she's not even clearly specifying what answer she is advocating, just that she'll take care of it when she gets there. Compare that to Carly, who takes the difficult road of saying, look, I know it's expedient to sit and make it sound like, we'll just fix it, government just writes a law and it just magically it happens. But in actual fact, I'm going to slow down, I'm going to take the difficult road, I'm going to educate you on why that's a horrible decision. Even though it sounds expedient, it's actually going to have a much greater cost than it is benefit, and I'm going to slow down and make the difficult road and teach you this as I go along. The next thing that frustrated me about this town hall meeting is every single question was, what are you going to give me? What are you going to do for me? How are you going to allocate funds and resources from the government purse to me? What's the direct benefit that I'm going to get? Not one single question throughout the entire event from either the host or the members in the audience, which is, interesting suggestion, Hillary. What's the cost of that? How much is it going to cost me? How much money do you have to extract from the free market in order to implement your ideas? How much harder is it going to be for my child to get a job when the national debt is not 18 trillion but 35 trillion in 20, 30 years time because of all of these programs you're implementing? There's no understanding that there is a cost to all of these things. There's no accountability in any of this. It's just an endless line of people lining up saying, if I vote for you, what will you give me? And she'll say, I'll give you lots. How about that? Okay, cool. And everyone pats her on the back and everyone leaves. It's just so frustrating, the extent of economic illiteracy across all different walks of life throughout America and throughout the world, is people do not understand the cost of what they're asking for. Imagine if this is why it's so hard to understand. Like, it's understandable if you promise someone to give someone something at the expense of somebody else. It's like, I'm going to give you welfare and I'm going to increase taxes on them. I can understand the selfish mode of people saying, well, whatever, I'm just going to take it, right? I get that. But here's the reality of what the actual conversation is. Hillary, can you give me stuff now and just put it on the national debt, and my child will go to work and they'll pay off that debt? They're going to inherit an economy with just horrific amounts of debt. They're going to have to pay huge taxes in order to pay the interest on the debt that I've incurred. Can you please give me special privileges and make my child pay for it plus interest in years to come with a shitty economy and a massive debt burden on their head? Effectively make them debt slaves and give me free shit now. Now, no, I believe that these people love their children just as much as everybody else loves their children. And that's why I know it's not straight up selfishness. It's just economic illiteracy. The people on the left just don't get that. They don't have the economic skills to understand what it is they're asking for. Because if they fully understood, they wouldn't in a million years ask for it. I know they love their children. They would not ask for it, but they just don't get it. And unfortunately, this is one of the biggest problems with democracy. It's so easy to find these useful idiots and just say, I'm going to give you free shit. And you don't understand it's going to fuck you, but it's gonna. You don't understand it, and I'm just going to promise you free shit. Vote for me. Everything will be sweet. The people who take the hard line and say, no, I'm actually going to try and help them. I'm going to try and slow down, educate you on why you actually don't want what you're asking for. They get called selfish. They get accused of having a lack of compassion, for having no heart. So let's start to take a look at a few of Hillary's responses here. First of all, this one, because I really wish she would take her own advice.
And it was done, and it did have a lot of positive but also negative unintended consequences. That's why we have to take another look. That's what a democracy should do. Look at the evidence and make changes based on it.
Let's take a look at what works and adjust. I couldn't agree more. Let's take a look at her responses with regards to education. Now, before we do this, I just want to share some stats with you here. By a recent study in the US, illiteracy has become such a serious problem in our country that 44 million adults are now unable to read a simple story to their children. 50% of adults cannot read a book written at an 8th grade level. 45 million are functionally illiterate and read below the 5th grade level. 44% of American adults do not read a book in a year, and 6 out of 10 households do not buy a single book in a year. Now let's look at the correlation between a person's economic success and their literacy levels and basic reading skills, yeah? 3 out of 4 people on welfare can't read. 75% of people on welfare can't read. 20% of Americans read below the level needed to earn a living wage. You hear all these leftists bang on about, let's increase the minimum wage so it's a living wage. It's just a guaranteed way to destroy the lives of poor people. You had children in your possession, advocates of government, for at least 13 years, kindergarten through year 12. 13 years it was your responsibility to teach them to read. You completely screwed them over and failed to do that job. Then, when they have an opportunity to finally get out of the clutch of the evils of government-run education system, they can't enter the workforce because nobody could possibly pay a person who can't read a living wage. And so you prohibit the free market from giving them a low-paid shitty job where they can learn on-the-job skills and eventually get the skills to read and become more profitable. You lock them out of that. You prohibit them from fixing the wrong that you inflicted on them in the first place. 50% of the unemployed between the ages of 16 and 21 cannot read well enough to be considered functionally literate. Around 50% of American adults have an income well below the poverty level because of their inability to read. And the social impact of this? 3 out of 5 people in American prisons can't read. To determine how many prison beds will be needed in future years, some states actually base part of their projection on how well current elementary students are performing on reading tests. 85% of juvenile offenders have problems reading. Approximately 50% of Americans read so poorly that they are unable to perform simple tasks such as reading prescription drug labels. Now, I'll put the links below so you can check all this yourself. There's also a report here, the National Center for Education Statistics Adult Literacy in America. This was a government-funded initiative to go and do lots of research, granular research, and really cut things up into different socioeconomic groups, racial groups, and lots of others. So let's just go down and see how race affects literacy levels according to this government-funded study. So this is the literacy levels and average literacy proficiencies by race and ethnicity. The way this works is there's 3 different educational standards: prose, document, and quantitative. And for each one, people of the population are set up into 5 different categories, where level 1 is the worst reading skills and level 5 are the best reading skills. So these 5 numbers here add up to be 100. We see here there's white, black, and lots of others here. I couldn't find it in this study, but I suspect that with Asian Pacific Islanders, Hispanics, etc., I don't think that English would necessarily be the first language spoken at home. And so unfortunately this research didn't go into that level of specificity, but I suspect for the vast majority of these ones that English was not the first language spoken at home, which is going to have a negative impact on the children's ability to read and write English. But I think it's probably true that the percentage of black and white people in American society where English is the first language at home would be pretty similar. And you can see here that the schooling system, the government-run schooling system, is horrifically racist against blacks. Yeah, again, all of these numbers add up to 100, so it's just a reflection of the distribution for the race over the 5 different reading levels. And you can see that for the white level, the tallest bar here is level 3, and you have a little bit at the top and a little bit at the level 1, and most of the people fall in this middle. It's a nice easy bell curve. In the black area, it's a very different story. The vast majority of blacks, when they come out of government-run schools, are on this level 1, basically functionally illiterate, 38% of them. By level 2, you've got well over a half, actually 2/3 of the entire population fall in the first 1 and 2, and there's literally no representation at all in the top levels of reading. This is after 150 years of government-run education. The results are nothing short of horrific. The results are nothing short of racist. Now, I should point something else out here that you are most likely not to know because you went to a government-run school. And it obviously does not further the government agenda for you to know this. Between 1650 and 1850 throughout the United States, there was almost no money spent by the government on education. Education was completely provided by the free market. And what were the results? The results of colonial America's free market system of education were impressive indeed. Almost no tax money was spent on education, yet education was available to almost anyone who wanted it, including the poor. No government subsidies were given, and inefficient institutions were either improved or went out of business. Competition guaranteed that scarce educational resources would be allocated properly. The educational institutions that prospered produced a generation of articulate Americans who could grapple with the complex problems of self-government. The Federalist Papers, which are seldom read or understood today, even in our universities, were written for and read by the common man. Literacy rates were as high or higher than they are today. A study conducted in 1800 by DuPont revealed that only 4 in 1,000 Americans were unable to read and write legibly. Now, the best part about this is, on a certain fundamental level, the black people of this country understand how much they are getting screwed in government-run schools. Listen to this question.
Secretary, at TV1, we conducted a poll of black parents, and we asked them the question about charters and school vouchers. 74% of black parents said they were interested in enrolling their kids in charter schools. 79% favored school vouchers. We are in the state where really Brown versus Board of Education got its start. 61 years, black folks are still waiting for education to get right. Do you support the expansion of charter schools and school vouchers when black parents overwhelmingly say they want the best for their kids and they are not satisfied with what's happening in traditional public schools?
So what's Hillary's response? Bear in mind, she's already said that we should look at what works and make adjustments as necessary. We've got 150 years of an absolute failed education system that delivers horrific results and is horrifically racist in its nature, what does she recommend? Should we allow the free market to get involved? Should we abolish the Department of Education? Should we get the federal government out of it, leave it to the state so it's more localized? Should we allow vouchers like the question asker suggests her constituents actually want her to do? Should we eliminate licensing and the whole system where the government anoints certain individuals to provide education? We should make everybody able to provide education and let competition sort it out. What's Hillary's suggestion?
So I want parents to be able to exercise choice within the public school system, not outside of it, but within it.
You can innovate a little bit, you can change it a little bit, but whatever you do, you can't get it outside of the government system. The government has to be in control. I am not willing to let go of that. Why, Hillary?
Because I am still a firm believer that the public school system is one of the real pillars of our democracy.
It's a pillar of democracy, is it? Well, it's a pillar of something. The 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx, 1848. Plank number 10, free education for all children in our government schools. Why is that a pillar of communism? Because if the free market educates children, then those children grow up into adults that can articulate why communism and socialism is so goddamn horrific. They must keep you economically illiterate to keep voting for them so they can continue to acquire and centralize power, keeping it out of your hands and in their hands. Liberals, I know your heart is in the right place, but for the love of God, stop trying to help. You suck at it. It's really, really bad. And your victims are the ones you claim you're trying to help. Most liberals are forever patting themselves on the back for how wonderful and virtuous they are, how selfish and non-compassionate the other guys are. And really, you guys are just so busy patting yourselves on the back that you don't even look down to see the hearts and minds that you're trampling on. So I know the best answer, which one is going to be completely unpalatable for you, is to just get government the hell out of education in its entirety. No funding for it, no licensing for it, no rules for it. People set up businesses, they set up shops, they can charge for it, they can be free, they can be community driven, and parents have the right to choose their child, to send their child to any school that will accept them. Complete open competition. A variation, which is not as good, but something that's a lot easier for liberals to swallow, is we have to move to a voucher system. Just because someone lives in a poor neighborhood, they shouldn't be forced to send their children to schools that are in that neighborhood. That keeps them trapped in poverty. You have to just let the parents decide where they want to send their children, which means you have to have schools privatized, and the schools have to compete for that patronage. You can keep your socialized payment system. The government can give parents vouchers depending on how many children they have, and those parents can spend those vouchers in any way, shape they want, and entrepreneurs can provide education in any way, shape or form they like. It does not need government oversight. There is no more horrific outcome you could guarantee than getting the government to oversee it, because you've seen the results that they can do. I'll let George Carlin have the last word. Please like this video, share it, subscribe. I'll see you for This Week in Tyranny next week.
But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers, people who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all, at all, at all.